this computer. With this, very warm welcome, guys. This is our first little adventure talking about riding in Tanzania, which I have not organized as a group yet. I've been riding by myself, and I have done a couple of scouting trips, but I have not done this in a group. So this is my first attempt this year to promote this tour. And I know you may have seen
Hmm.
from the dates on the website, it's July. We're running really late. I know that, but for me, the most important thing, I finalized the trip, and I was quite an endeavor. And I realized that working with partners in Tanzania is very different from working with someone in India or in Nepal. So you really have to allow, it's just a different mindset, and sometimes you just don't get responses, and you have to wait and wait and wait and not lose patience.
Yeah.
I had to change my partnering company halfway through because there were some issues, and then you realize when you're not on the ground, it's very difficult to just do this online. But we finally managed, and so we've put it out. And the attempt today really is that I talk to you a little bit about this trip. So I'm going to show you on the map. Talk about the route. Not so much in detail. I rather wanted to also leave it open. So if you have questions, whatever there is, that you just come in, interrupt me, and then hopefully by the end of this webinar that you have more information, you can assess more if this is a ride that you would like to take up. Um, and if not, I'd also be curious to see why. And then it's also possible that we do adjustments. So I'm hoping that we get 6 riders together for this year. If not, we're probably looking at the same time slot next year. So that would be July 26th. And I think one tour would
When,
be
when wh- when is it this year? It's now. It's very close, right? Or
in
no?
July. Yeah,
It's
yeah, the
in March.
5th to
Oh, in
17th.
July. In
Yeah,
July.
5th to 17th of July.
Okay.
And we just said we need 6 riders really to make it work. Plus, because I have a support team on the ground, and it's just too much effort, and the cost would be skyrocketing if the team is too small. But this is more on the
How
logistics.
many days, Christine? How
It's
many
12,
days?
it's 12 days. So these tours in Tanzania are typically a little bit shorter, just because of the cost effect that you have. The Eastern African countries, for some reason, are more expensive than what you may know from Nepal or from India. I'm not sure what, when you're
Hmm.
going to Pakistan, the price structure might be different. So most tour operators really also avoid having, rest days, just because you a day shorter or 2 days shorter. So this is a 12-day
Hmm.
trip, which is pretty much, riding every day. And there's one day, I wouldn't consider it an off day, but it includes a full day, a Jeep safari, because, Tanzania is all about really wildlife, and obviously also meeting Maasai. So that's why I named it, riding with among
Yeah,
Maasai
of
and
course.
Prey. And you
Maasai.
want
Yeah.
to get into one of these national parks and just see wildlife just straight up. And I'm going to show you, shows you in the map in a moment so that you know what we're looking at. So it's 9 riding days, and it's one day in the safari, which is included in the price. So that
And
would
is that, sorry to interrupt, Kirsten, is that in a Jeep or on a
Yes,
bike?
yes, yes. And that's a crater. You may have heard about Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania. It's one of the most famous wildlife reserves. So it's a crater. It's the world's
Oh,
largest caldera, and you only allowed to go into this national park by Jeep. You can't even leave the Jeep unless we stop for lunch or at the toilet facilities, just because
okay.
it's not safe. And I think the beauty about this national park is because it's almost like a natural habitat. It's closed off. So you dive, you come over the edge, and then you leave early in the morning, and there's usually this layer of clouds that hangs over the edge. So
Wow.
you dive through this, this narrow little road down, and it's almost like you're in the rainforest. And then all of a sudden you're at the bottom of the crater, and it opens up, and it has I think it's like 8,000, more than 8,000 square kilometers. So it's quite, from all the way through, it's 23 kilometers. So
That's amazing. And
Hmm.
do they
that's
have the big cats?
yes, everything. So you in
Everything.
when we went in 2021, we had everything. We had elephants, we had
Wow.
hippos, we had the black rhino, we had ostrich, zebras, wildebeest. So this is the whole range, and that's something that's so, so, so special that, yeah, what I thought it's
That's
personally,
great.
it's an enrichment to a trip like this. We will also obviously have wildlife on the road as we travel, but this particular sort of blocked off area. The location is just so 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 beautiful and stunning. It's just out of this
Mm.
world, and you know that.
That sounds amazing,
Yeah,
Christian.
yeah. When you go to
Always a good
Yes,
address.
yes,
yeah, when you go
definitely.
to when you go to Tanzania, it's really about wildlife. And I would assume that, if you come for 12 days, I'm sure that, people would like to stay on. And there's other national parks close by. You could travel onto Serengeti, for example. But we thought one day in a Jeep, also to relax the mind a little, but then to go close because we're on the bikes. We obviously stay away from wildlife. So we observe them from a distance. But down in the Ngorongoro crater, we can go really close, and that's only with guided, with obviously with licensed tour guides. They know what they're doing. Yeah. So this is the other
Mhm.
and the other
Very,
night. What's that?
very exciting.
No, it's really exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah, just also because you
Yes.
you see, for example, you may have seen a zebra in a zoo, but in wildlife, and they don't come by one. I mean, there's hundreds of them. Wildebeest, there's just hundreds of them, and they start moving, they start crossing the road, and you just happen to be there, and then everybody stops, and obviously there's lots of jeeps
Yes, yes.
down in the crater at the same time because they all leave at the same time in the morning, but it kind of spreads out. And I've thought it doesn't matter if you're in a group of 10 Jeeps, just because everybody enjoys, the sensation of being where we are and watching wildlife in the natural habitat. So I think it's just awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's lots and lots of things to explore, and that will be a whole day. So that's really morning to evening, pack up the bikes, and then come back, and then don't jump back on the bikes that we had initially thought. We just stay in the same place where we leave from in the morning. And the lunch will also be inside the caldera. So in a designated area, it's still open, so it's not fenced off. So, you need to stay close to the jeeps, and there's other jeeps around. So people are constantly on the watch out if, should animals approach. But I think they're quite respectful. And from what I have observed and from what I have heard, because you can't walk, nobody's allowed to hunt, so you can't get off the jeeps. It's almost like animals sort of sense that, they're kind of curious, they come close, but
Mhm.
I haven't heard of any encounters. And there was a time when the Maasai actually were allowed to live in the crater. Just imagine that, and you have the big five, but this is
God,
just how,
yeah.
this is just how they live. I mean, even when we're outside national parks, you have animals and you have Maasai, so I mean they know how to deal with animals, and that's also the beauty when you travel with locals. We'd go like, oh shit, there's an elephant or there's a giraffe, and you don't know how they react, but you go with locals and they do it so playfully, just because they're used to it. They're used to
Mm.
Yeah, they know.
they know how to behave and they don't get frightened. They rather
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
also take a picture, like same in India, people go closer, elephants on the road, they go a little closer, and once the elephant starts charging towards them, that's when they run. But it's still kind of joyful. You may have had the same experience, Kathy, in Kerala. You may have come across elephants on the road.
We did actually, but just once we did in India, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So that's and
there
that's
is a lot of rules, especially when you're on a bike. They tell you what to do in case some elephant is charging. So we
yes,
didn't
yes,
have to deal with that, I'm glad to say, but
yeah.
yes.
And I think it's also that's probably the exception. And on so our team will be headed by a local tour guide. His name is Good Luck, and I just thought the name is just. I mean, how can you have a
Ah, good luck.
guy?
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah.
So he has his own touring company, and he will also be providing the bike. So it's all in one hand. And apart from being a really amazing tour guy in Tanzania, but also in other countries of Eastern Africa, like he does Kenya, he does Rwanda, but he's also a licensed safari guide, which is really helpful when you
Mm.
actually, crossing the plains, and you come across. First of all, he's very good at spotting stuff. You just look into trees, and he said, "There's a giraffe. Is this a giraffe?" So you can't see the giraffe. It's
Yeah.
just so close. But he's very good at spotting, and obviously also knows how to behave. So I'll talk about this in a minute. And I guess this is probably the where people get most anxious. What happens if, because we're out there, we're out there doing it, and we're riding alongside zebras and maybe wildebeest, and maybe there's an elephant somewhere. So I think very likely we see giraffes and zebras. They'll be just along the roadside, and I personally
That's
haven't
cool.
seen an elephant in Tanzania, but I have seen a group of bisons from the distance. But that's what we actually after. We want to go a little bit closer, not too close, but stay sort of in a safe distance that we still can observe animals in their sort of natural habitat.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Sure.
What sort of temperature it will be in July? Is that their summer, their spring? What sort
Yeah,
of
so it will be hot. It will be hot.
it
We
will
have
be
cooler
hot?
temperatures, but it
Okay.
will also, especially when we cut through the plains, that's a
Yeah.
very dry area that could be very hot. So layers again. So
Layers, yeah.
no more than you brought to Nepal. Seriously
Yeah.
not.
Okay. Yeah.
But that would be at a later stage. We would also be getting a packing list that you know exactly what to bring,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's more
Oui.
roughing it. There's no need to buy any new equipment because it's really rough and get dusty and dirty,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's part of the adventure.
Smelly.
Maybe what I'd like to do, share my screen and see if I can bring up the map so that you have an idea. Can you see me?
We can see files.
Yeah, we can see
Hang on,
your
hang on.
your
I need to move
files.
this. I need to move this, and the map is just. Where's the map? Is this the map? No, this is not the map. No, it's not the map.
They're photographed at the moment, yes.
Yeah, hang on. I just had it open. No. Okay, go here, go over here. Okay, can you see the map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a very basic map. I just wanted to show you what we're looking at. At the top here, you see the little cursor that I'm moving right at the top. So in the north, you see this Kenya. So we're very, very close to Kenya, and you see a straight line,
Mm-hmm.
basically the diagonal line going through that's the border between Tanzania and Kenya. So this is
I lost the map. Can you still
sorry.
see? I don't know what happened. I don't see the map anymore.
Oh,
I see it.
What
I can
happened?
see it, yeah.
I see it.
You can?
yeah.
I don't see it. I don't know what happened.
Shall I try again? Hang on a minute.
Yes, please.
Yeah, just try again.
Sorry. I don't know. Yeah.
All of you to have a look. Here we go. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, I
You
don't know
see
what
you see
happened.
my cursor
Yeah.
moving?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just saying the diagonal line that cuts across at the top half. So that's the border between Kenya and Tanzania. And the blue line is basically the route. So it's not super precise, but it gives you an idea where we're going. So
Yeah.
basically
Mm-hmm.
in the northern part of Tanzania. And riding
Mm-hmm.
along, as you can see, everywhere, we're basically touching the Kenyan border unless we come to the southern area here. So we're very, very close. And there's also a border point when we travel around Kilimanjaro where you can actually take a photograph at the signboard. You're entering
Mm-hmm.
Kenya. This is just, we're so close.
Cool.
So as I said, this is a 10-day, this has only 10 days instead of 12. I missed out the arrival and the departure day. So 10 days in total. You have 9 riding days and 1 day in Ngorongoro. And the airport where you arrive is Arusha. Arusha it's not, well, the airport is called Kilimanjaro. So you don't have to go to Dar es Salaam and then fly up, but there's direct flights from Europe. They go into Kilimanjaro. And from Kilimanjaro, it's probably about hour and a half, 2 hours ride into Arusha, where we will pick you up. Sort of, don't worry about any of this. But this is basically our starting point. And we would then travel. I'm not going to go into all the details. I just want to basically show you on the map more or less the route that we're traveling. This block here, this green lump that you see here between number 2 and number 1, this is actually Mount Kilimanjaro. So part
Is
of the
that Kilimanjaro?
this
Okay.
is Kilimanjaro, and very
Oh, wow.
important because it dominates northern Tanzania. You can see
Yeah.
from the distance. It's just because it's so prominent. It's close to 6,000 meters.
Massive, isn't it?
And
Wow.
the surrounding area is really flat, so it really stands out. And on clear days, you just have incredible views of Mount Kilimanjaro. So we're basically riding around Kilimanjaro in 2 days. The whole loop, if you start from Moshi, what we did a couple of years ago, or I did it twice actually, from Moshi all the way around, it's 250 kilometers. So we don't go to Moshi, but that's the last bit to Moshi is really just highway and going around Kilimanjaro. It has a bit of paved tarmac road, so black topped, and it also has a section of easy off-road. When we talk about off-road in Tanzania, it's you will have all different kinds of off-road, but very often it's compounded, flat, hard surface. Because we're in the dry season, though, we don't expect any muddy areas. We don't expect any washed out roads. You could have washed out roads, but dry, so that when we go into the hilly areas, that sort of with bikes it's easy. With the car, sometimes it's difficult because the washouts are so deep. So you have like ruts that you have to go through. But I'll talk about this in a minute. So we go around Kilimanjaro, and then we are basically heading further towards the east. And there's some areas here between Sama and Lushoto, actually between, that's not really marked here. I couldn't really find the locations on the map, so I just drew a line, so indicating that we head south. But this whole area here, there's a mountain area, mid-hill, I'd call it mid-hill, that we go exploring. There's a Pada Mountains, and you see this blue dot here. This is a little lake, like Lake Jipe,
Ah, yeah.
which is half Tanzania, half Kenya. And we're aiming to have lunch down here. There's also a chance to go boating. There's hippos on the lake, but that's a bit time consuming, so we're not quite sure. But it's a really beautiful place to go down and just be by the lake. And the other side there's a Kenyan National Park, so there could be animals, but at the same time we never know. We never know where animals show up. So this is a venturing out into the adjoining hills. You see the gray shading here. So these are the Para Mountains, not very high, but winding roads and going up and over and down for a day. And the same when we traveled from Same to Lushoto, there's another mountain range that's called Ushambara, and I think the highest elevation is about 2,300. So those who have been to Nepal, it's like, Kathy, it's like riding up to Nagakot.
Cool. Oh my goodness, I love that road. That's gonna be great.
So, and we have different focus in different areas. This area here is not so much a Maasai area, but we have the chance to go into local communities, and there's lots of agriculture work going on. You have amazing views because Lushoto, where we're going to stay on day number 4, is as an elevation of 2,300. So there's magnificent views over Kenya and just the mountain range, and yeah, it's the highest point that we reach on this tour. And then we head back down, and this part here from day 4 to 5 and 5 to 6, this is basically cutting across Maasai land. It's also known as the Maasai Steppe, which includes various national parks. For example, this one here, Tarangire, is a national park, and then Manyara is another national park. So there's lots and lots of national parks in Tanzania. Even down here is a national park that's called Mkomasi. So we'll be touching border. Sometimes we, right through to get to the accommodation in this particular case here in Tarangire. But this is all pretty plain riding. So this is like cutting across a savanna. You won't encounter forest. There's hardly any traffic. I was just talking to a good like yesterday and said the traffic that you have in this region is Maasai and their livestock. So there'll be lots of Maasais just by the roadside where we stop, we engage. It's very often that you meet children because the children are at age 3 onwards. The boys go and herd the animals. And also, where possible, we try to obviously get into Maasai villages, so to give you and more authentic because it's a really this area here doesn't see a lot of tourists.
It
Not
doesn't see what did you say, Kirsten?
does not see a lot of tourists, so it's not like a
I
trail
see.
where you see lots of
Okay.
motorbike riders or lots of jeeps. While Kilimanjaro is a place where it's known for people go actually for hikes, for safari hikes here, but it's all very, very moderate. It's no mass tourism. Could have been what we expected or experienced up in Manali. It's getting out of town and in town is just or Kathmandu, same thing. It's really, really busy. Whereas in Tanzania, from my experience, I've been 3 times now. I thought it was really, really moderate. You want to stay off the highways, yes, but cutting across, yeah, it's very, very thinly populated, and for that reason, there's also very little public transport. If at all, we probably must safari jeeps and the like, and maybe a few more motorbike riders. So we cut across here to Tarangire and on day number 6. And then we cut across to Karatu. And in between here, there's some sections that, you've heard about the Rift Valley, the Great Rift Valley, that partly cuts through Tanzania all the way down to Mozambique. So it's a geological formation. So it's a sequence basically of depression area. So it's a valley, and then you have a rift in certain places, and it basically says that there's different plates, like the Somalian plate, another plate name I forgot, where the plates are actually drifting apart. So you have that rift in the middle, and the rift is about 6,000 kilometers long and cuts through various countries. And we will also be riding along the rift edge in Tarangire and further up at Lake Natron. When we travel to Lake Eyasi, there's a village where we stop, all depending on speed, on how far we go as a group. But the idea is to stop at the lake, and the lake is in a very well-known tribe. They're called the Hapsade. This is like one of the almost extinct hunting and gathering tribes. So they really live like they have lived forever, very, very secluded, very isolated, and we have the chance to go on a hunt with them if time allows. So it's really interesting. So in addition to the Maasai, this is another very well-known tribe. There's not many of them, and but to have the chance and go just experience some time, have some time with them, and see how they live, and that's kind of all of a sudden realize, oh my God, this still exists, and how wonderful that we have the opportunity to meet people in their natural habitat.
Yeah.
So yeah, on day number 7, we will be in Karatu, and Karatu is the main hub for people who go to Ngorongoro Crater. So there's lots of lodges, and so we will take camp in a lodge for 2 nights because the next day, on day number 8, we will be hopping on the jeep with our little lunchbox, and then travel down into the Ngorongoro Crater. That's a whole day. So we'll be leaving probably 6 in the morning, come back around 4. So takes us an hour to get in and down, and then we spend the whole day really in the jeep, and that should be exclusively to ourselves, depending on how many people we are on this trip. Other than that, you may be another few tourists who join us just to make sure that we have a full jeep. And then so basically we don't sleep in Ngorongoro. The 8th of 9th is the night of the 8th is also, we stay in Karatu. We stay here for 2 nights. I just couldn't indicate this any better. And then on the second last riding day that we take from Karatu up to Lake Natron, and that's a really, really stunning ride. It's mostly off-road again, a lot of compounded off-road. But that takes us down to a lake. This is Soda Lake, and Lake Natron is known for, again, this is Maasai land, and the Maasai reside down by the lake shores. There's a Maasai camp, and also on the way, there's always Maasai's, always, always, always. But Lake Natron is also known for its large flamingo as a breeding area for
Oh,
flamingos. So at the right time of year,
nice.
you right down to the shores, and there's just, I don't know, it's just endless, endless, endless flamingos. And also the beauty that down by Lake Natron, you have the likelihood of riding with giraffes is very high because that's where they live. So last year I was down in Lake Natron and just popped around the corner. And first of all, we saw two heads come out of the bushes. So the bushes were low, so this time I could see them. But then we came around the corner and we had the giraffe sort of pop out onto the track right in front of us. So we didn't really chase the giraffes, but we were behind the giraffes who was running, running, running until it turned off again.
Ah,
And,
cool.
Wow.
and because we had a local Maasai with
Yeah.
us as a guide, because they really know where to go, where to take us, where to spot giraffes, and even if we follow them and they sort of branch off back into the bushes, that they would just take us and make us hop on the bikes and then basically follow the giraffes to when then they stop, and then you have a larger group of giraffes. It's just such a neat experience because it's this amazing animal.
Mhm.
So all that can happen in Lake Natron, and even on the way to Lake Natron, the likelihood of zebras, wilder beasts, in big herds, that is all possible. Nothing is guaranteed. But when I spoke to Good Luck last night, so he said there's two places where we will see animals for sure, and this is around Tarangire and Lake Natron. That's the days we are on
Mhm.
the bike. And then obviously in Ngorongoro, but that's where we hop on a Jeep. That's where we're traveling on the Jeep. Right. And from Lake Natron, and that's a really cool, I mean, it's just a neat spot. It's just out of it. It's just, I don't know. It's Maasai land everywhere. And you just think, oh my God, you have no idea how secluded people live, and how when you go into the camps also how we walk in, with our equipment, and then you walk into these camps and basically see, oh my God, they have, in terms of assets, they have very little. So they're very proud of their livestock. So that's very important. It's cattle and goats. That's very, very important for Maasai. And also the number of wives that a chief can have. So obviously it's not just one wife, but that sort of makes the clan healthy and wealthy animals, and the number of wives. Um, yeah, so we have a chance to, time allowing. There's also, as I said, there's a Maasai camp or Maasai village at the shores of Lake Natron that we could possibly visit. There's a waterfall we could go to, but that all depends on time and how fast we travel. You may just be knocked out and just want to enjoy, be in the camp and, stretch your leggies and not go back on the bike. And there's always a chance for in Lake Natron, for example, if we wanted to go down to the lake and see the flamingos, that we just park the bikes and maybe all hop on the back of our support van or support Jeep and take the ride down, just to save a bit of time and not having to ride. So that's this option we always have. Yeah. And then from Lake Natron, we cut basically back to Arusha. There's two different ways. We may take a shorter way, but it's again largely an off-road trip until we connect back to the Blacktop Road, and that takes us back into Arusha. So this is the ride we have designed. It's a lot. It's about, well, we said depending on the speed, days can be shortened. There's shortcuts here and there. So at max, we would be riding 1,700 kilometers. It can be reduced by 300, 350. But that really depends on how the group is performing and how we as a group see, or maybe we wanted to have a little shorter day, then we can take a shortcut. But other than that, it's more settled time than you would have experienced in Nepal on some days. But then Kathy, we also did a long day, 240 kilometers. We did that.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes you have to just sort of power through, and obviously we'll be taking breaks every hour and a half. And regarding, food on the way, there's something I may want to mention, that in some places for lunch, we have to carry lunch boxes because there are no villages. And if there are villages, there's no food. So we pack our lunch boxes, but then we have, water stops in between. In the villages, you always find Coke, obviously, soft drinks, they will always be there. And we carry water in our truck, so there's always water available. And then likely also, that we stock up on fruit. So when anybody gets hungry, that we always have something to eat in case the lunchbox is not so interesting. Yeah, so this is in some places there's just nothing else. But then you have the beauty sitting under a Tanzanian tree and enjoy your lunchbox. And maybe out of nowhere pops up a little, I don't know, Maasai boy, and has a chat with you or a little dance with you. So this is honestly quite something, because it's not rehearsed. Nothing of this is really rehearsed, what we encounter, unless we really go into a camp where we have established contacts. But other than that, it's just these roadside encounters, of which my tours live anyway. You just stop and observe and, talk to locals, and then get a feel for what this is all about. So there'll be plenty of photo stops on the way. And everything obviously under the command of Good Luck, who will be leading this trip. Yeah, so this is it in a nutshell.
Christine, what kind of bikes do you use?
I'll come to that in a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just actually can show you a photo so you have an idea what the bikes look like. So just talking a little bit about the logistics. So same as in Nepal and India, we have a support vehicle with us. So a driver, there's a mechanic also on a bike, because there's some parts when we go into the mountain, it's not mountain, they call it hill regions here in the eastern side, where we go into community, some of the community trails, and this is just not possible for the car. So the car will stay on the main track, and then we link back up. So for that reason, we have a mechanic on a bike. Should something happen, that we can fix, puncture, whatever, right on the spot. We also be carrying spare parts with us. Now, the good thing is that the bikes are brand new. And let me see if I can show you a photo of the bike. Where's the bike? Oh, maybe not this one. These are off-road bikes we will be riding. Can you see this photograph?
Nope. Still have the map.
Not yet.
Oh, we still have the map, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Nope.
No.
Still have the map.
No.
How do I do this? Hang on a minute. I thought I shared my screen.
You had it earlier when you were looking for the map. It was
Yeah.
a picture bike, but not anymore.
So if you hit share screen again,
Yeah,
you might be able to see.
it just says here it's paused. Let me just share. All right. Okay. You can hang on. Okay, can you see this image?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So these are they look a little bit. Honestly, when I saw it yesterday, I thought it looks a little bit like a Himalayan. But these are brand new bikes.
Yeah, it looks.
They're 250 cc's, so they're off-road bikes. And those of you who have had experience on Himalayans and Bullets, so this is a much lighter bike to handle because it's got less weight. And it's easy to handle for beginners and intermediate riders.
Can they shorten?
Mm-hmm.
They lower them like we did in City?
Yeah. So the 2024 model, so that brand new, which I think is really cool. So the bike, just a few words on the bike market is really, it's really small. And from what I have experienced in Tanzania, you can get Royal Enfields, but there's a hefty surcharge, and just the bikes are so heavy that on those tracks you have much better off of these lighter off-road bikes. Plus the grip on just look at the tires, just the different kind of riding. 250 cc is all we need. We don't need like 500 cc's or more than that. It's just really enough. So On the bikes, you would have to strap a little bag for your water bottle, for sunscreen lotion. If you want to take off a t-shirt, you just stuff it in. Swimming costume at times, because sometimes the Jeep is not right behind us and we reach somewhere and you may want to go for a little swim. It's nice to have that stuff with you rather than having to wait for the Jeep. So a little bag, either your little backpack or a bag that you strap onto the back seat. Yeah, that's for the bike.
Have they got satchel, Kerstin?
Sorry?
Have they got the little satchel as well on the bikes or none?
You mean the bags?
The little carrying bag in gray.
No. You have to bring your own, and then also possibly, good luck. We could, just bring your straps from home, and then we sort of add our Tanzanian straps onto it, like the stretchies. But don't. If something happens and the stretchy breaks, and you lose your bag, that'd be very bad. So the only thing we can do is double secure your bag with a Tanzanian stretchy, but you'd be advised to, just bring your own stretchy.
Yeah. And what is the make of the bike, Kerstin?
It's a Chinese bike.
Oh, Chinese bike, yeah.
It's a Shino Rai. You also find that information on the website.
Okay, no
so
problem.
They're quite popular because, again, bringing bikes like a Himalayan in or Royal
too expensive.
Oh man, it's so expensive. The spare parts, it's just incredible. So the Chinese have developed and I've been riding a Chinese bike, so not this one, but a different model. It was 150 actually on our first trip. And that was fine. Sometimes I thought I need a little bit more, so these are more powerful. And it wasn't even an off-road bike, and we just swayed along. I thought we had a brilliant time actually. So and plus the spare parts are affordable and they're easy to manage, and all the mechanics, either in case we need a maintenance workshop somewhere, the guys know how to do this with Royal Enfields, because they're not so popular among international tourists, but again, for the locals, this is kind of an unaffordable bike in Tanzania.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's a better idea.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that these are not like rental bikes again from another company, but that good luck with his own company. He's just also starting off. He's been in business for a while, but he just managed to get the bikes and sort of can now build his business and not having to rely on rental bikes that come from somewhere else. So you know exactly what you look at, exactly how long they've been riding. You know, tires look like.
This is very important. Yeah.
And you go to other countries like Nepal, we have that issue with the rental bikes. It's not always perfect. So we try to have better solutions. And I really like the idea of having all of this in one hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
So the likelihood of them breaking down rather slim.
Do the bikes have cruise control, do you know? And what's the longest day? Like, how long will you ride in one day?
The longest day is 286 kilometers. So
what is that in hours, though?
That really depends on the speed that we ride. So Good Luck's been taking tours on that day. We said they leave at 7 a.m, they reach around 2 o'clock. Then also we have to see part of that longest day, 140 kilometers, is tarmac, so it's blacktopped. So obviously we go a lot faster, and because it's flat, it's straight, and there's no traffic, you can really speed up a little. So that to me makes sense when you travel in Nepal. The roads are just so bad, and there's so much of traffic that even 40 Ks take you a whole day.
That's why it's really better measured in hours than kilometers, because really it's more about how long you're on the bike.
That's true. And that's the longest day is actually when we cut across through the Maasai land, where you have a lot of sort of flat area, compounded, hard sort of surface where you can really go. It's not gravelly, like where you keep, sliding. You still watch out, but we can easily travel at 50, 60 kilometers an hour. And we have, by the time we get to the savannah area, we have a bit of practice already, day number 5. So we have a little bit of practice, your bike, how it reacts. And then we need to set the speed according, obviously, to the slowest rider and the fastest rider. But for me, it's always important that we start off as a group and we finish as a group.
Yeah,
And you always
definitely.
have the chance. You always have the chance if you think, oh, too long, I need a breather. You get off your bike, you hop on the Jeep, and I think if I would, yeah, either we have a spare rider or we have a trailer even, so your bikes are loaded up, so you can take a breather for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, and then hop back on. So that's really according to you, or if we feel one rider is slowing the entire group down and we really need to push, we don't want to ride in the dark. Then we would recommend that that particular rider hops, same as we did in Nepal, as we did in Spiti. So this is just partly our observation, and then obviously in consultation with the specific rider. We don't want to override anyone, but we also need to make sure that we, get to our places before it gets dark. It's very important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is.
So there's no, unless when you ride with women, it's other than a mixed group, or men only group, they wouldn't even consider going on a Jeep. They would not do it,
Yeah.
ego thing.
So do you know if they have cruise control? Does the
Sorry?
bike have a cruise? Does the bike have cruise control?
I would have to ask Mary and get back to you on that.
Christine, you said that you have to fly to Kilimanjaro airport, and then there is a bus ride to Arusha.
No, we pick you up.
I was.
Yeah. No, we pick
from
you up.
Where? From
Kilimanjaro.
From the airport. From Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, from Kilimanjaro
Okay,
Airport, we will have a pickup. It's
Yeah.
about an hour and a half, depending on traffic,
Okay.
to get into Arusha. And then in Arusha, we have a really nice outpost. Lodge is really cool little place. Got a little swimming pool, got a little bar. The rooms are lovely. It's not like a big sort of concrete, 15th floor hotel, but it's a nice little lodge, which I personally, we're right in the middle of town, and there's a Maasai market around the corner. Those who want to venture out, and on day one, also when you arrive, or if you come the day before, so on 5th would be the arrival day, or you come a day earlier and then we pick you up a day earlier. That's really up to you. But if there's time, it'd be nice to take a little walk through Arusha. And the Maasai market is quite nice. And that's probably the only place where you have the chance to do a little bit of souvenir shopping, because in all the other places, there isn't really, it's not really about souvenir shops, which is actually quite relaxing. You're not being bombarded with stuff that you think you should be buying. And it all looks great in Tanzania, and then you take this colorful stuff home, you think, no, maybe it doesn't really fit my living.
Yeah, that's right. What am I gonna do with it now?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And you said we have to be there on the 15th of July.
No, it's
or
the
16th.
So the tour is from 5th
17th.
to 17th.
17,
Sorry?
yeah.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, I would send that to you in writing again, so the details, so you have that from 5th of July, so July 5 to July 17. That's our first day. So
okay.
Ideally you come, because if you come from Europe, there's no time difference to go to Tanzania, so you don't have a jet lag.
Okay.
Unless you travel through the night, but the jet lag thing doesn't come in. For Kathy, you probably, if you would come from the UK, it's you go to Amsterdam, and there's a straight flight from Amsterdam to Kilimanjaro non-stop.
Okay.
Really cool.
Amsterdam, great.
So, it's an 8 hours flight, and it lands you in Kilimanjaro. So it's just the airport is called Kilimanjaro. There's no village around, but then from there we pick you up and take you to Arusha.
Okay.
So all this will be organized, so you won't get lost, and the same, obviously, on the way back, depending on if you leave on the last day or you want to stay on your own. That's something obviously you would have to work out. Yeah. Okay. So that's so we talked about the logistics. So the team is there, and they're really, really helpful. So if you get stuck anywhere, or I can't do this, there's always somebody to take over and help through. But obviously, we want to push each other that we do most of the stuff ourselves. But the bikes are cleaned up, in the evening, so they're all nicely lined up in the morning. So you find your bike. So it's not something that we need to do once we arrive somewhere. You just take your bag and go and leave the bikes to the mechanic and support stuff. And because we've been doing enough during the day, and it's their job to look after the bikes and the maintenance and the cleaning. So that's really, really cool. It's very, very big help, but that's obviously part of the way we travel, to keep everybody safe and also that you enjoy the riding as much as you can. Yeah. So just one more thing regarding the women riding, you won't see another woman rider on the bike anywhere. There's very, very few, even less than in Nepal. At least when you go to Kathmandu or you go to Delhi, you see women on the scooter. In very, very little in Arusha. We may have the chance for those. I think most of you know that we have been supporting a couple of girls in the Kilimanjaro region. So we will have the chance to meet them, and because they have bikes now, and they may even accompany us for a day or two.
Nice.
Travel around.
That's great. That's great news.
Yeah. So that's something that I need to work out, and if we do it next year, like if we had a trial this year, and because we've traveled around Kilimanjaro together once, and so they know the region a little bit already. So it's not like they have never been there. But hopefully next year with some extra funding, we'll be able to include at least one of them into the tour as a team member, and then hopefully maybe groom them as a tour guide in future. There's something that Good Luck could take up. But that's still a long way. But just for these beautiful souls to have an experience of riding in their own country, and now with a license, they have an official license, they have their own bike, and they want to see more, they want to do more. So we see how we go with that. But that's something I need to figure out, and if they're available, and because one of them just had a baby not long back, so that's obviously, she can't be away for too long. Can't leave her baby behind. So
Kirsten, just a quick question about the off-road riding.
Yes.
Is it similar than Nepal, the adventure in Nepal? Is it similar in terms of, quality of off-road, or is it completely different?
It's hard to say. I mean, you have a bit of everything, but on general, when you have in Nepal, you have more like the hills and the corners. When we travel around, for example, when we go around Kilimanjaro, it's a pretty wide, it's a red dirt track.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's almost like you ride on tarmac because it's so compounded, so hard that you shouldn't have any problem riding, the speed that we did in Nepal on the main roads. And I think you were also asking about if you can't ride standing for that long. You don't have to.
You don't have to. Cool. That's good news.
That's really something that every rider needs to experience for herself, whatever you're comfortable with. And also with the height, with these bikes, you have to see, the Himalayan is perfect for somebody my height, or Kathy, your height, or Corinne had it as well. There's awesome for standing. But I'm not quite sure how high the levers are. So if this bike is really perfect for standing on them, I guess so. But
we'll see. Yeah.
Thank you. Christine,
none of this you have to do standing.
Kirstine, how tall are you? So I can understand
I'm 169 and a half.
What is your
centimeter? 169 centimeter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I am 180. So
perfect. Perfect.
I'm afraid. Do you think it will be too small for me?
No. Because Good Luck is 190 or even taller. He's a huge guy.
Okay. Good.
And when we went, that was actually quite funny when we went to Lake Natron last year together. So he had a little Chinese bike of one of my friends, because that was a deer. Said, you have to ride on this bike. And for myself, I rented a Royal Enfield, and I arrived at Lake Natron. I don't know what happened. There was something wrong. The lever wasn't well adjusted, so I've been kicking, and found it really hard to change gears. And so I came and I started noticing something in my knee. So I arrived at the camp in Lake Natron, and there was this little, Maasai welcoming committee, and you may have seen the video, dancing and then hugging, and anyway, and I couldn't walk because my knee was already swollen. So I must have, that entire day just trying to get into the right gear, and then it wasn't very soft. It was a lot of hard work. So I must have just triggered my knee too much. So Good Luck was on this little bike, with the knee it's under his chin. And actually, it should be the other way around. He should be having knee problems because my bike had the right height, but and he was on a comparatively spastic little bike for his height, but he just managed fine.
Yeah.
He's a really tall guy.
So you mean it is smaller than Royal Enfield, right?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes.
Is it about smaller?
It's also lighter. That's the beauty. But I find out about the height, exactly. And for Corinne is smaller in height.
Very short.
Yeah.
Very short legs.
Okay.
Yeah, these bikes can be lowered. To meet the needs of lower riders, shorter riders.
Do you know what is their weight? How much do they weigh?
I would reckon no more than 180, no more than that. Probably even less. So the Himalayan is about 250.
No, it's about 180 Himalayan.
Is it?
It's more. No, it's got to be more.
Yeah.
No, it's more. It's more.
No.
200.
That's right. I expected this to be 170 or something.
Yeah, it would be between 150, 180, maybe even 140. So that I have to find out, and about the cruise control and
yeah, just curious. Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, but if you know how to ride a Himalayan, you all have bigger bikes. I mean, Kathy rides a
yeah, no, yeah,
Harley Davidson.
Wouldn't be a problem.
This would just be so enjoyable, just to have more sort of around and be more fun.
Yeah.
I love the Himalayans, but sometimes it can be really, really heavy to maneuver.
Yeah, it's 196 kilo, the Himalayan.
Yeah, so 200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this would be lighter. Then it's a 200. Yeah, usually we include also the luggage if we don't have, so that would be 230 when we travel with luggage. But so 150, 160 for this bike. But I'll come back to you and let you know precisely.
Yeah, okay, no problem. We're just close. Yeah. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah.
No problem.
Cool.
Just a second.
Right. So one more thing I wanted to talk about is food, because it's also something that people are always very interested in. The Tanzanian, really, they love meat. So there's meat everywhere. There's also obviously vegetarian dishes. We won't have a lot of choices when we travel during the day, because it's either lunchbox or we go to small eateries. And traditionally, the Tanzanian people, they eat a lot of rice and beans. So red beans was really yummy, and that comes with vegetable. But there's also fish, and then whoever wants, there's also meat items. So that usually comes on a plate. And then there's also one dish is called ugali, and ugali is like a mashed corn, so it almost looks like mashed potato. So it's a massive pyre. It's pretty tasteless, but it's quite filling, because then you get some gravy dish with it, or vegetables, that kind of stuff. They love chips. So if you're a big fan of chips, then that would be all right. Other than that, it's vegetables, fruit, and I think we can also stock up on biscuits, so that we have something available, snacks in the Jeep, and we will also be carrying water at all times. And when we come to the lodges, like the first night when we stay at the western side of Kilimanjaro, there's a lodge called Zimba Lodge, and it's beautiful, like a colonial setup. It's got this old farmhouse, it's beautiful lawns, a little pool, and then you can just overlook the plains and then sunsets, and it's just beautiful. And they have this 3-course dinner out in the patio, and it's just wonderful. So it really during the day is more basic. When we come to our lodges, you can expect better food. And even also regarding the accommodation, we have from to, so sometimes there's only one place, so we have to be in that lodge. We have no choice. It's maybe a little bit more local, but then we also have, when we go to Lake Natron, for example, we have a more upmarket place. It's sort of the tented camps, but it's more like house type, so you don't have to dash across the lawn at night to get to the loo. Not knowing what's maybe behind the tree. Or there are even places where if you leave your tent, you have to call someone to make sure that they guide you to the toilet or across the lawn. So we have some of these more glamorous places, and not because I'm such a big fan of glamorous, but it just fits the environment, and you don't have a lot of choice to pick. So, and then as I said, Narusha is a basic guest house, but really lovely. So you just love the atmosphere. It's really cool. It's right in the middle of town. And yeah, you have this Imma farm, which is the second port of call, which is really lovely. So yeah, so we have a range of basic hotels, lodges, and those bit more upmarket places where you can stretch your legs and your mind and wait for the next day to come. Right. Yeah. So
nice, very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I'm pretty also, and that's something that I personally would like to grow with Tanzania. As I said, it would be my first trip. I'm still a very young enterprise, so most of you know, but just find stuff that we as women enjoy that we can do, but also about pushing ourselves a little. It's not. Oh, there's Janet. Hang on. Hello. Hi, Janet. She's a bit late. Hi, Janet. Good morning.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was a bit late.
Yeah, no, we're almost done, but that's good to hear your voice anyway and see you. So, but also the possibility if we go into Maasai camps that we also have the chance maybe to talk to women, and also in the long run, because I think that's very important. The Maasai women that still live very, very secluded. We're going to see a lot of Maasai men, Maasai boys, but the girls and the women that just don't walk around the roadside, and so it's very rare that we actually encounter women. So if we go into the camps and start establishing also some sort of then overcoming in the long run, yeah, that we sort of can also see if what first of all how they live, what we can bring in, and how do we exchange actually, because they give us information. They also would like to hear something about us. And when I was in a Maasai camp, was it last year, 2 years back? So I was actually guided through the village by the 4 women of the Maasai chief. Wife number 1 was out with her husband, so the wives were there and had explicitly asked at the entrance, can have a chance to speak to women, and so then they came, and I was agreed, and then they came and took me around, and just to have the feeling, took me by the hands and then walked me through the little village and showed me the little huts and how they sleep, and you'd be surprised how basic it is, but then what a lovely experience. And it was just us, and I had my translator with me obviously, but just then you have questions regarding how many wives, one husband, how many wives, and then you explain, and where we come from is the other way around. We have one husband, usually one wife. There's also the exception, but and I just find it really funny. So this is something for them they can't comprehend, or they find it really weird. And basically saying, "Oh, poor you." That means because I'm number 5. I only see my husband maybe once a month, twice a month. So that kind of, and then you also see there's, you can joke about stuff. It's not like you say something that may offend them, but also try to explain the differences, or come with little pictures and show your house, or where you come from. That's really interesting. A lot of these camps are really, there's no electricity, there's no running water, so it's like it used to be. Especially when we cut across the Maasai steppe, that would be really they're very isolated still, and I think it's a great chance to also observe how people still live, and they do well, and it's nothing that we have to belittle them, or feel sorry for them. Maybe it's just the other way around, because they know how to live in the environment that's quite harsh, and they know. That always fascinated me, that they know how to behave with animals, because they're part of the same ecosystem, and that's how they see it. They're part of, we're all bye we're all one, and this is not how we've been brought up. We separate from everything. We separate from nature. We separate from animals. We know them from the zoo, or there's a fence between us and the animals, and it's different when you come to these sort of tribal communities. How they I don't know, how they just blend in somehow. They make beautiful jewelry, and no, it's really quite interesting, and also you may find stuff that you didn't expect, and may sort of you think, oh, I had no idea it's like this, or is it that that basic really, or it's quite advanced in that way. And also to learn about the different roles that they have in the communities is also quite interesting. It's not that just a man. Obviously, that's pretty much like they go out, earn the money, or herd animals, and the women stay at home. That's traditionally what we know from in our countries as well. But there's also areas that they sort of control and over which they have command, and that's something that we just don't know. Yeah, so that's my idea also of traveling on a bike. Is not just kilometers, cutting kilometers, but also to really dive in and experience. And
yeah, definitely.
that's what we do. That's what we do in Nepal. That's we also try to grow in Spiti a little. In Nepal, it's easy for me because I lived there for so long, and Tanzania is still new, also new to me. I've been there 3 years in a row now, but it's just this kind of, I don't know. When I got first into Tanzania in 2021, it was more by mistake because we were in Nepal and it was COVID, and we had to, in order for Brian to get back to New Zealand, we had to go to a third-party country, and Nepal was a high-risk country at that time, so we couldn't travel from Nepal back to New Zealand. He had to go to another country first. And then we started looking. We were in lockdown in Nepal. I said, oh, maybe Turkey and Tanzania. And then second time Tanzania, third time, oh, Tanzania sounds actually really cool. We just arrived and then hopped on bikes and had a blast. These little Chinese 100.
That is amazing story, Kirsten. That's brilliant.
Yes, it is.
Just took off.
Wow.
Just
I
took
didn't
off.
know that.
Yeah, and this is also the ride when I met Germana, one of the ladies. We started supporting with a license and now with a bike, because Brian and I, we had a bit of a standoff one day, and I just said, just fuck off, I ride by myself for the day. So and I ended up in this village, and I stopped and traveled on. I had a little chat with a lady who was just sitting on a blossoming tree, and I went to the hot springs we were also going to visit. And on the way back, I stopped again. And then around the corner pops this young woman, and she looks at the bike and said, do you mind? Can I have a spin? And she hopped on the bike, and literally on that dusty village track, there were like a rail line, a railway track, and so she actually she sped up, and then she's jumping across the rail line track. And but she was so taken by her skills, how she could ride. This little floral dress and her plastic jandals. I think they were bright yellow, and no bra. They were these just moving up and down, But just the way she controlled the bike, I was like, wow, this girl, on the bike. So this is how the whole story started, and that's at the foothills of Kilimanjaro. So we're planning to go
amazing.
So that we can also, you see what it's like, and meet Germana and Mariam, and maybe, as I said, maybe they can ride a couple of days with us. That would be just my offer to them if they want to grow as maybe potentially as motorbike tour guides. Then this would be a chance for them to get started. And no better guide to learn from than Yeah, so this is how I ended up in Tanzania. Yeah. And then things sort of, one thing led to another, and still, it's 4 years now. And I think, oh my God, it took so long to put this trip together. But it just always takes as long as it takes, right? Some things you just can't push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Janet, do you have any questions?
Yes.
I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. You're breaking.
Just hit her. Hello, Kathy.
Hello.
Yeah, Kathy the traveller. Yeah. No, I just want. I won't be able to do it this year.
No,
Due
good.
to
It's
other
not
stuff that
about
I've
doing
got
this.
on,
It's more like as I said, I wanted to share what we're planning to do, and I know it's very short notice for this year, but I just want to get the discussion going, and sort of get the juices going. And if it's this year or next year or the year after, that's entirely, or not at all. I mean, you have to lastly figure out if this is something that interests you, and then we have to take it from there. So I'll do my best as I said, for this year would require 6 riders. If we don't have 6 riders, good luck says below that, even because we have a large support team that comes along. Less than 6 riders makes no sense. Then we would have to wait for next year, which I'm still discussing the dates. So that's something I need to work out now as we move along. And then see what slots can we do next year. Maybe there would be one in spring. Definitely going to be July again. Because you don't want to ride in Tanzania when it rains, because part of the tracks you have this red soil and that gets muddy. That rains upon, that gets muddy. That is just like soap. You don't want to travel on these roads when it's wet. When it
no
rains.
way.
No, it's really horrible, and it's also not safe. So July is the dry season, and then the months that lead into up to I think November. But these are exactly the years that I am in Spiti and Nepal. But we see how that works out. I could also move Nepal and then to spring and see how this pans out. So I'm trying my best for this year, and for next year I'll be putting out the dates soon. And if you know people who would like to come on board or share, I mean, I'm here. I'm always here to if you want to have another chat, a bit more sort of one-to-one. Just let me know. And there's no pressure. I don't put pressure on anyone. If we don't do it, we don't do it. If we do it, we do it.
Cool.
Yeah, how long would I know you've already gone through this question, but how
Yeah.
long would the trip be then? Is it just like the 10 days, the same as like the Nepal or
Yeah, it's 12 days. It's 10 traveling days. So it's 9 riding days and 1 day in a Jeep. It's a Jeep safari, which goes into one of the most famous wildlife reserves in Tanzania, which is really, really out of it. So that's a whole day safari, but that's all part of the package. And as always, assuming somebody hasn't done it yet, if people have done it already, then we would have to, that person could opt out, and then we have to see if we do something else during that day with that particular person. But I don't think too many people have been to Tanzania yet. Yeah, and for me, I mean, just on a final note, I really want to leave this as a women's only tour, just because of my experience and what it provokes and how we encourage each other and how courageous we become when we ride together. And very often when you have guys or you come with your partners, the partner thinks by default, I take the lead and I tell my wife or my girlfriend or whatever, my partner, I tell her how to do it. It's never been in the Himalayas, but here he comes, and tells you how to behave and how to, I don't know, and then you have that kind of, oh yeah, he let him talk, let him do it just because it's always what he does. So it's different when obviously that's when you ride with somebody you know closely, often it's a husband or your partner. But when you have if we had a mixed team and people you don't know, they'd probably stay away. They wouldn't come near you and tell you what to do. But I still think that the women only, and also we're in a similar age group, and the stuff that we talk about and the fears that we break and the boundaries that we cross, and we push each other forward. So I find this really, really remarkable. And and I mean, Corinne, you have been to Spiti last year. And Corinne, I remember when we started, when we first had contact over Facebook, and Corinne was going, "Oh, I wished I could, but I can't because I have no experience and my legs are too short." And so that was her first, that was her, no, I can't do this. And then over time, we started talking about this. So maybe just in a few words, your experience, Corinne.
It was amazing. And I'm so glad that I did it. And some of the challenges that I voiced at the beginning of it, I overcame them, but I realized that some of them are challenges that will always be there, and you just have to face your fears and go for it. And now I'm facing similar ones because I crashed my bike when I came back from Spiti and I broke my ankle in a rut. You're thinking about ruts. And so now you talk about ruts, and I think, you know what? I can overcome this too, because I'm not going to let that fear hold me back. And the really great thing about women, with women, we do encourage each other. And it's not about one-upmanship or trying to prove ourselves to somebody else. It's about proving ourselves to ourselves. And so this excites me about going to Tanzania. And yes, I am going to Pakistan. And we're riding little 150, so I feel like that's going to bring the confidence up. But I'm really excited about Tanzania as well now, and also about the local culture and the women there, and that the whole package that you're talking about. It's like, oh man, I kind of like to do that this year, but it will be next year.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, maybe, maybe it needs adjustments here and there. Maybe we've, every trip that we do, we get feedbacks. Obviously, we see that we improve if there's an area where we have to. And then, we had a discussion, and Kathy, remember in Kathmandu after, on day one, and you should have told us, that about the roads. And then at the end of the day, also with Jan. And at the end of the day, what did we conclude? You can't describe it. You have to experience it.
Yeah. Don't
Spitty
tell
was the
anybody
same.
what they're like.
What was that?
Spitty was the
So I
same.
just said,
Yeah. Yeah, because
I thought that it was better the unknown.
Yeah.
Yes, completely.
I do think it was much better for me anyway to just go with whatever the next day brought. It didn't. I don't think you need to be worrying about day 5. It's going to be rough or it's going to be downhill. I don't think you need to be worrying about that at all. I think you just like just get
Go
up
with
in
the
the morning
flow.
and go for it.
Yeah.
Take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's just how it is, and it's very difficult. And even we all have when it comes to off-road. I mean, it's not we're not through bushland where there's no track. We are on roads where cars can pass and buses travel. So
Oh yes.
also because
Mhm.
just for the we want to sort of don't get too close to animals, and we want to save their space, and we want to save our space, obviously, just because we don't have the protection around us. And that's why we stay on the tracks. And it's not just like when you branch off and you all of a sudden, Corinne says, oh, there's a rhino, I'm going in, boom, I'm going a little closer. That's your responsibility. So we don't encourage this. We stay in the group, also for the safety reason, and wherever possible, obviously we stop, take photographs, that kind of stuff. But and then talking about off-roads, really, it's what is an off-road really? And we in Nepal and India, I mean, you have roads there, they're blacktopped and they feel like an off-road because they're so potholy
Yeah.
and in such a bad condition. And then you have stretches in between. They're fine, they're amazing. You find the same in Tanzania. So there are blacktop roads in between, but then there's a lot of these, as I said, compounded. There's some section with a bit of sand and different technique. Or when we go down to Lake Natron, it's flat. But there's an area where they have, like, because it's a volcanic area, so they have there's some parts that are like a rocky surface where you're flat, but you have to get across. Nothing difficult, you just have to know. And it's not like steep up, steep down, or that, here's the abyss and I'm just here on my little trail and, so scared that I can't move forward. Yeah, you may be scared at some point, but then we need to do it scared anyway. Otherwise, we're not breaking through. So that's it, within your own sort of comfort zone, but this will definitely stretch comfort zone again and that very differently from what we experience in Spiti, because Spiti is all about altitude and narrow roads, single lane roads with oncoming traffic, and I mean it's also off-roady. So I mean, you can't really compare Nepal. We went up to Tatopani on a mule trek, really,
I
but
remember that one.
then it's always when you reach and you see the smiles in everybody's faces, you think exactly that's what we're doing it for, and the reward that comes with that, you feel just so proud of yourself, and it's not just a tour, but this is something for yourself, and you may come home and think even in other areas of life where you think, oh my God, I did that. What am I going to do next? You pick up on that.
Yeah, you do definitely.
And that's something that we talk about on our trips, and we share a tear and we hug, and and somebody just has a moment, then we stop and then make sure that person is okay. And you don't find this really in mixed groups where it's just bang bang bang, it's just as mileage, it's just about kilometers. And for me it's also important that we have the coherence in the group, and that we get along very well, and then we become friends at the end of a trip, and just create a network that we can start growing in your community, in my community, wherever we go, and then we keep meeting. And then when you go, obviously also that you like share your knowledge with those people who go next year. So because that really helps me talking about a trip that I've done already is different from somebody. Next week we have the call about riding in Nepal, and then we have Kathy and Janet on the call because they were in a position where some people are right now. So what does it feel like actually to, traffic? So it's more authentic having, somebody talk who's just recently done it rather than me. And I may tend to think, oh, it's easy, but it's not easy for everyone. So I stay away from saying it's easy. I say it's easy for me, but may not be easy for you. But this is also my learning with sometimes I tend to, oh yeah, no problem. And it is no problem, but the perception is different. I don't want to overrule anybody's fear. That's the last thing I want to do because I have my own. But then we get on with it and just sort of do it together as best as we can, and create.
What sort of bikes would you be using for Tanzania?
Sorry?
Sorry, what sort of bikes would you be
Can you see the
hoping to
picture
use
here
for?
on the screen that I've shared? Can you see
Yes,
this?
yeah.
It's an off-road bike.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
okay.
250 cc.
Yeah.
So lighter than we just figured. So it's probably about 50 kg lighter, and it's really easy to handle, especially for that kind of area where we go to, and a lot more lenient than the Himalayans. So that's my pick, and also I've shared this already. The guy I'm partnering with in Tanzania, these are actually his own bikes, and they're brand new. So I'm in very good faith that he's keeping them as his own little gems and marvels because they're his own bikes. So there would nothing to have to be happening to them. So the maintenance would just be every day and really up to standard and beyond, because this is his business investment. Yeah. Rightio, guys, we're at the end. We're heading towards 8:30 now. And what I would suggest now, let it all sink in. I'll be sharing the video. You can sort of, Jen, because you've missed most of it.
Yes, I am sorry
there's a
about
map. I put up a map, so I talk a little bit about the tour and about accommodation and the team composition and so forth. And let it all sink. Have a think, and then if you happen to, I'm more this year, next year I keep a list so I can put names down without any obligation. Nothing that you have to do. If we get it together this year, it'd be amazing. I know we run. It was a bit of run against time.
Okay.
But yeah, come forward if you think this is something for you. We can always have a sort of one-to-one chat, and my passion from adventure riding is just right here.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kerstin. That's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I was a bit
Okay, guys,
late.
beautiful seeing all of you. And drop me a line if you need more, or if you think this is for you this year or not. Either way. And thank you so much for showing up today. And
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll be sharing the video and other information that comes through on. I have you all on the mailing list. But if something burning regarding this trip, I can also individually email you, and then we take it from there. So have a think. Have a good night. You're all going to bed.
You too. Thank you very much.
For a walk
nice
now.
to see you all, ladies.
Yeah, likewise, guys.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
How do I stop this thing now? Stop sharing. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. I see you definitely on 26. That sounds
right.
great. See you later. Bye.
Bye.